The laughter rang out, sharp and piercing. In the middle of the restaurant, Olivia stood still, clutching her tray, her old apron stained after a long shift. The VIP table sneered. She could only carry dishes and had even misread the Italian menu. Eyes turned toward her, whispers spreading through the room. Suddenly, an Italian guest shouted in anger. All the staff froze. No one understood. Olivia set the tray down, lifted her head, and replied in fluent, straightforward Italian. The laughter vanished. Who was she really? If you believe in true worth, subscribe to Humankind Stories. The Italian restaurant on Manhattan's busy street glowed under warm yellow lights. The clink of cutlery, the chime of glasses, and the smell of tomato sauce mixed with the richness of wine. Customers of every kind filled the room. A Spanish-speaking family loud in the corner, Japanese tourists snapping photos of their meals, and fast-talking New Yorkers dominating their tables. Olivia wove between the chairs, tray in hand, back straight, hair tied neatly. Her white shirt was wrinkled, and her old apron was marked with stains. She had been on her feet for more than 10 hours, yet her pace stayed steady, her face calm. 6 elegantly dressed guests sat at the center table, gleaming watches and diamond necklaces catching the light. Their voices filled the room, laughter spilling loudly. When Olivia set down a glass of water, Claire, the blonde woman covered in jewelry, looked her up and down, then smirked. She looks no different from some diner waitress on the side of the road. A burst of laughter followed. Olivia didn't answer, just gave a slight nod and turned away. Behind her, the laughter only grew louder. Richard, the man beside Claire, his silver watch glittering, added, "Maybe the high point of her life is serving drinks to us." Another round of laughter, louder this time, loud enough for the whole room to hear. At the bar, Derek, the tan bartender with slicked back hair, leaned over and spoke loudly. "She'll be stuck here her whole life." His friend echoed him, laughing hard. Olivia heard every word. Her fingers tightened on the tray, but her steps didn't falter. She walked to the following table, calmly pouring water. A man at the VIP table pushed his glass to the edge, daring her to slip. Olivia caught it quickly, set it straight, her eyes steady. He shrugged, smirking. From the window table, a couple whispered just loud enough, "A place this fancy, and they hire someone like her. What a shame." The jabs came one after another, but Olivia's face stayed composed. She wiped down a table, lined up cutlery perfectly, as if she hadn't heard a thing. James sat alone near the wall, a simple white shirt, no tie, just a glass of water before him. As Olivia refilled it, he glanced up, voice quiet. "Have you ever been to Italy?" Olivia, caught off guard, answered shortly, "No. But I like reading about Rome." James nodded, eyes flickering with interest, then bent over his notebook and wrote a few lines. The moment passed quickly, unnoticed by others. Olivia continued with her work, her hand brushing against the silver locket under her blouse, steadying her breath. The laughter still rolled from the VIP table, pulling several other tables. Each taunt, each scornful look seemed bent on erasing her presence. But Olivia never bowed her head. She stood tall, tray in hand, moving through the light, her petite figure made stronger by her silence. The laughter from the VIP table didn't stop. It spread outward like ink in water. A few nearby tables began to smile. Whether at the joke or out of fear of being different, no one could tell. Olivia walked past, tray in hand, every word landing in her ears. At the bar, Derek piled on. "She just tries to look calm, but everyone knows she'll never get any better." A regular clapped him on the shoulder, laughing, "Exactly. Look at her, clear as day. She's got career waitress written all over her." Olivia set her tray down and bent to take a new water jug. Her knuckles turned white from her grip, but her face remained unchanged. Claire leaned toward Richard, her voice raised just enough. "Look at the way she pours. Slow, clumsy, embarrassing." Richard snorted. "She thinks waiting tables is the peak of her life?" Laughter burst again, louder than before. At the window, a group of young guests raised their phones, pretending to take pictures of their drinks, their cameras pointed straight at Olivia. They giggled. "This will blow up online. The joke of a fancy restaurant." Blue light flashed across Olivia's face. She glanced once, then kept walking. At the VIP table, a middle-aged man with a loosened tie slapped the table. With service like this, I've lost my appetite." The whole table roared, a few other tables joining in, not wanting to stand apart. Olivia kept clearing dishes, pouring water. Each step felt heavier, as if the room itself pressed down on her shoulders. She set her tray down in the kitchen and drew a deep breath. Her fingers brushed the silver locket beneath her blouse. A memory flickered, long nights by her mother's hospital bed, an old Italian dictionary open on her lap. Marco, the retired Italian chef, sitting across from her, correcting her pronunciation. "Stress the syllable here, Olivia." The memory faded, leaving only the present. She exhaled, lifted a fresh tray, and walked back out. At the VIP table, a man shoved his glass to the edge again, daring her to spill. Olivia steadied it instantly, her gaze calm. The man hesitated, then looked away. At another table, a guest deliberately dropped his napkin. Olivia bent down, picked it up, and neatly returned it without a word. The guest froze, ashamed, saying nothing more. Still, laughter rang from the VIP group. Claire lifted her wine glass, her voice cutting. "A fine Italian restaurant, and this is the staff they hire. Disgraceful." A few nodded, murmuring, "Agreement." Olivia held her tray close and walked on. Her steps are sure, her back straight. Yet, under the bright lights, her petite figure seemed to carry the weight of the whole room pressing like stone walls. In the corner, James closed his notebook softly. He said nothing, but his eyes followed every step Olivia took. The laughter still roared when, suddenly, another sound cut through. Not English, but Italian, rapid and harsh. An older man stood up in the corner, his face flushed red, his hand waving as he spoke in quick bursts of Italian. The strange words fell into the room, leaving the whole restaurant frozen. The staff looked blank. The manager fumbled with his phone, trying to open a translation app. A few tables exchanged smirks. An Italian restaurant where no one understands Italian. What a joke. Claire tilted her head, her sharp voice aimed at the whole room. How ridiculous. An Italian restaurant that can't even handle Italian. Richard laughed loudly. Pathetic. The entire VIP table nodded, agreeing. Olivia set her tray down on an empty table nearby. Her hand trembled slightly, but her eyes sharpened. She drew a breath and walked straight to the Italian guest. All eyes followed, waiting for her to falter. But Olivia stopped, tilted her head slightly, and spoke. "Signore, come posso aiutarla?" The Italian flowed, fluent and clear. The room went silent. The man froze, then broke into a broad smile, clapping his hands together. "Finalmente! Finalmente qualcuno che mi capisce." Finally, someone who understands me. The room froze solid, forks and knives halted, and laughter died. At the bar, Derek dropped his towel. Claire opened her mouth, then shut it. Richard frowned, his eyes darting nervously. Olivia kept speaking in Italian. Her voice was steady, warm. She suggested dishes off the menu and explained which wines paired well. The man nodded, his face glowing. Surprised, he asked, "Where did you learn to speak like a native?" Olivia smiled softly. "From a kind chef and from many nights of reading." The man laughed, placed a hand on her shoulder, nodding in thanks. The room stayed hushed. A few people began to clap, small, scattered. But the VIP table remained stiff. Claire leaned toward Richard, whispering, "Probably just memorized a few lines." Richard nodded. If she were really that good, she wouldn't be waiting tables. Olivia returned carrying fresh bread. She set it down on their table without a word, her eyes steady, calm. No need to explain. In the kitchen, Maria, the waitress on the same shift, paused, looking at Olivia with new eyes. She whispered to the dishwasher, "Did you see that? I never thought she could do something like this." In the corner, James sat still. He closed his notebook, eyes locked on Olivia. His face unreadable, but gaze sharper than before. Olivia went on with her work, as if nothing had changed. But the air in the room was no longer the same. The mockery had quieted. In the heavy silence, one question hung in many minds. Who is this waitress? Really? The atmosphere in the restaurant weighed like stone. A few clapped weakly, then stopped. The VIP table sat rigid, smirks sour. Richard scoffed. "Just a parlor trick. What's so special about that?" Claire leaned forward, her sharp voice cutting. If she's really talented, why is she carrying trays here? Olivia heard every word but didn't reply. She kept clearing tables, her hands steady. Then James, the man who had sat silently all evening, closed his notebook and rose. The room turned to him. He wore a plain white shirt, no tie, but his stride was firm. He pulled out his phone and opened a recording in Italian, a fast, rough speech. Holding it up, his voice calm. "Excuse me, could you translate this for me?" The room fell silent. Olivia glanced once, then nodded. She listened closely, then translated cleanly into English. "This is about a partnership agreement. They want to meet next week and emphasize respect for Italian culture in the process." James nodded, smiling. He stopped the recording, then placed a business card on the nearest table. The bold letters read, "James Whitaker, CEO, Whitaker Enterprises." Gasps rippled through the room. A few whispered, "Is it really him?" Claire's face drained of color, and Richard went mute. Derek dropped a glass at the bar, eyes wide. James looked around, his voice firm, not loud but carrying. "This is no joke. I need an interpreter who understands both the language and the culture of Italy for next week's European summit. I heard about you from Chef Marco. Tonight, I saw it for myself." He opened his phone again, showing an old newspaper photo. A teenage Olivia held a trophy with the headline bold, "New York girl wins European language championship." Whispers swelled. Some tables gaped, unable to believe. Maria covered her mouth, eyes wide. Others raised their phones to capture the moment. Claire tried to keep her voice steady, but it shook. That was just the past. James turned, eyes sharp. Past or present, true worth never disappears. "I choose her." Olivia stood still, tray in her hands. The whole room stared at her. She didn't smile, didn't gloat. She gave only a slight nod, as if accepting the truth laid bare. Not everyone clapped. Some sat silent, uneasy. The VIP table bowed their heads, but other tables began tapping spoons against glasses, the sound spreading like recognition. In that moment, the balance flipped. Olivia, the one mocked and dismissed, was now publicly chosen by one of the most powerful business people in New York. The room stayed silent after James's announcement. A few people whispered, some phones lifted to record. But most eyes fixed on Olivia, waiting for her to speak. A young journalist at a corner table lowered his camera and called out, "Do you really think you're good enough for an international summit?" The air seemed to stop. Olivia tightened her grip on the tray, her hand, touching the silver chain hidden beneath her blouse. The small, worn locket, her mother's only keepsake, lent her strength. She raised her head, her voice low but clear. "I didn't choose this job because I lost my dream. I chose it because my family needed me." Murmurs rose. Some looked surprised. Richard gave a harsh laugh, trying to regain control. "Sounds like an excuse. If someone's truly talented, they don't bury themselves under an apron." Claire nodded firmly, whispering with bitterness, "Exactly. Still just a waitress who knows a few Italian phrases." Olivia turned toward them, her eyes steady, unflinching. "Talent doesn't always decide the path. Sometimes love is the reason we choose. I never gave up my worth. I only put my family first." The words fell heavy, yet calm. Silence spread across the room again. From the back, Maria, the usually quiet coworker, stepped forward. She looked at Olivia, then spoke loud enough for all to hear. "I was wrong to laugh with them. You've shown me I need to be stronger." Olivia gave a slight nod, her gaze warm. An older woman near the door, her hair silver, stood shakily. Tears welled in her eyes as she clapped first. "You remind me of my daughter. She too gave up her dream to care for her family. And she never gave in." Clapping trickled in, then spread wider. A few more tables joined, applause building stronger. But the VIP table remained silent. Claire gripped her wineglass tightly, eyes turned away. Richard stared down, unwilling to meet anyone's gaze. Derek at the bar kept his head low, his usual grin gone. Olivia didn't cry, didn't smile. She simply held the locket in her hand, her eyes faintly shining. James stepped forward, standing beside her, his voice deep and steady. "You chose your family? Now it's time to choose for yourself." The words rang out, not as a command but as an affirmation. Opening a path. Not everyone agreed. Some eyes still held doubt, but others shifted. Respect, empathy, even admiration. The young woman who had secretly filmed lowered her phone at the window table. Her eyes glowed as she whispered to her friend, "She's the truly strong one. I want to be like her." A week later, the story from the Italian restaurant had swept across social media. The video of Olivia speaking Italian and James Whittaker standing to confirm her identity was shared millions of times. The caption written by the young woman who filmed it, "Today I learned, don't judge others too quickly. Consequences soon came for those who mocked her." Claire arrived at a charity gala, but was met with cold shoulders. Eyes slid past her, and the usual greetings vanished. Richard opened an email from a client. "We prefer working with people who respect everyone, including service staff." The big deal he had counted on collapsed. Back at his usual bar, Derek received a formal warning from management for unprofessional behavior. He sat slumped, laughter gone. Meanwhile, Olivia had left New York. The plane touched down in Rome. The doors opened, golden light flooding the cabin. Olivia stepped out, small but steady, her hand gripping her bag. The silver locket still rested against her heart. James waited in the hall, nodding once in greeting, no words needed. 2 days later, the European summit began. The conference hall was filled with business leaders and dignitaries. Olivia wore headphones, her voice steady through the microphone, translating Italian into English fluently and clearly. The audience sat still, focused on every word. James, in the front row, watched her without looking away. When the session ended, applause broke out. James rose, walked over, and offered his hand. "You did very well." Olivia clasped it lightly, nodded. A small, peaceful smile touched her lips for the first time in years. Outside the hall, a young intern approached, clutching a notebook. Her voice trembled. "I saw your story online. You're the reason I didn't give up." Olivia met her eyes, answering simply, "Keep going." The girl nodded hard, her eyes shining. That afternoon, Olivia stepped into Rome's piazza. Sunlight poured over the red rooftops, scooters whirred, and crowds moved around her. She paused, her hand brushing the silver locket. Her face was calm, her eyes bright and confident. No declaration was needed. The image itself was the message. From someone once mocked in a restaurant, Olivia now walked in the heart of Rome, carrying a worth no one could deny. The airport doors that had opened days ago had become a new doorway in her life. Olivia walked on, silent but strong,